I have been here, I've been in the Waikato since 2012. But before that, I was living in Taupua, and I grew up in Warkworth, and my whole family is from the Hawke's Bay. So that's a bit about me. I have navigated chronic health my whole life, really. But we didn't actually know what it was until I was in my late teens. Before that, I was always just told your body's different than other people's bodies. Your body doesn't do what other people's bodies do. It doesn't function how we would expect a body to function, but they could never identify kind of like what that was or what it meant. And so I just grew up with being different, and but didn't really have any articulation around any of that, and only knew my world as normal, I guess, because you only know what you know, right? Like, and so I was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos in my early 20s. Before that, things had got worse when I hit puberty. And so I had scoliosis diagnosed, hearing loss, so I wear hearing aids when I wear them, but I have them. And glasses, had a lot of issues with my blood, and I was just in and out of specialists all the time, PCOS, gut issues, constantly ending up in hospital with severe gut pain and relentless vomiting. But yeah, had an injury when I was 22, kickboxing injury, dance kickboxing, and I'd been getting way more flexible at that point in time and didn't understand why, but was proud of it. And then had an injury which triggered severe complex regional pain syndrome. And that's where my world crumbled, really. And I was bedbound 6 months, homebound 3.5 years, and have relearned to use the left-hand side of my body 3 times. I use the word bound and for bed and home because I literally felt like I was. It's not really a word that's used in our wider disability complex chronic illness community. But I guess for me at that point too, like I didn't have any supports in place, and my mum was having to help me and support me and was doing everything. So yeah, I had a bed cradle on my bed, and I couldn't use anything but my right hand. So I couldn't move my legs, I couldn't move my left arm, and any slight movement caused severe pain, like severe scream out pain. And so, yeah, but I guess I'd navigated my teens, and I had learnt some tools over that time that I thought I would maybe touch base on a few of them to share with you today. I'll fast forward to where we are now, which is continued to have significant ups and downs, and significant setbacks. And so I now live life with 2 feeding tubes. I've got a feeding tube that goes to my stomach and my small bowel, and that's 1 tube and 2 in 1. I've got an ostomy, and I have a central line that goes to my heart that gives fluids through. I use catheters as I need to. I use a wheelchair, both power and a manual wheelchair to access community. And so a lot of my joints dislocate now, and all of my internal organs are affected, and I have significant severe POTS. But I wanted to look back slightly to go back to when I was at that space, because I guess I'd navigated depression and overwhelm as a teen, and I'd worked really hard to find my way out of that. And so I realized that if I was going to get through this, I had to find a way to see what I did have and not what I didn't, and what I could do and not what I couldn't, and to kind of look and go like, what's in my hands and what can I do? Because we all can make a difference and we all have a part to play. And I realized that, as I'm sure you guys are aware, like I think one of the hardest things when I got sick was the conversation killer of what do you do? Or what do you do with your time? Or what do you do with your days? And you're just like, I'm sick. I don't work. I am on a benefit. And it's just literally like you can put the like chirp, 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 and it's just silence. And you're like, oh man. But like it makes you feel awful too. Like there's nothing worse than silence at the end, or oh, but you can do something, surely. And you're just like, you have no idea. Like even now, like people don't realize, like, so I was up till 3 a.m. last night. I had 2 hours sleep last night because I was up navigating pain and my joints have been really bad. So I couldn't keep 2 of them in, which was putting pressure on the nerves, sending shocks down my limbs. So I don't know, like it's hard. And so one of the things I realized is I was like, well, I need to find things that I can still do in a way to engage my time. Otherwise, I'm just going to spiral. And so I started to create like my 5 blessings list, and I had a 10. It was actually 10, but I started with 5, the same 5 every day, regardless. And then I kind of built it up from there. So like I can see the sky, I can see the sun, I can see the lake, which I was really lucky to have like view from my room, which I treasure. I can move my right hand and I have access to the internet. Because my grandma used to say, she's like, what would you have done if you'd been born in my day? And I'm like, I'm really glad I wasn't born in your day, like, because I don't know what I would have done. And I think like, I look at like where we are now. So that was 2008. And I look at where we are now and I'm just like, oh man, I wish we had what we have now today. Like it would have changed my whole world back then. But what I realized is if I could find a way to engage in something in my world and engage in that with people, it changed the conversation completely. So I started looking at what I could do and I was like, I can leave messages on people's Facebook pages. I can leave messages on their blogs. I can write blogs and I can engage with people and support others. Because what I worked out real quickly and is still a major tool in my belt today, if I focus on the worlds of others and I see what I can do and what is in my hands and how I can help others and how I can use my situation to support others, then one, it gives it meaning and purpose for me. It makes it doable. And but more than that, I don't have enough time to focus on my own world. And so that might sound contraindicative. What I mean by that is that if I focus on others, I don't have enough time to get lost in the reality of my own situation. My partner said to me at one point, he's like, why don't you spend 6 months just focusing on you and your health, do rehab, do physio, go and do all the things that are good for you and just do 6 months for you. He was just like, oh my gosh, you tank. He's like, but it's not just you that tanks. He's like, you all tank, like people in my situation, because I work with and support a lot of young people with complex health, Ehlers-Danlos, and navigating difficult roads like you guys face. And so he's just like, it's not just you though. He said, because we've got another friend that lives with us too with the same condition. He's like, you guys are just like, he's like, I don't get it. Like, he's like, normally most like people would be like, you know, do well. And it's like a Pampers time and it's like a really good thing. And he's like, but it's not for you. And he's like, you do better when you're working with others. And I was like, yeah, because when I take time to step out of that space and actually see my reality, I drown. Because the reality is that my situation, and for a lot of you guys, it's overwhelming. Like it's all encompassing. And it's really hard to face that. I find it really hard to face when I can't see a way through it and when I don't feel like it has purpose, meaning, or value. And it becomes quite redundant quite fast because I'm just like, what's the point? Like, I'm sitting at home, I'm doing this, like, how do I engage? How do I connect? How do I find things that fuel me, that drive me forward? And so, like, I've always tried to find things to look forward to and things to have and hold on to. So like a hand in the future, a hand in the future, and the hand in the past. And and I take lots of photos of everything, everywhere I go, for every experience I have. Every time I get in the car, I take a photo with my partner. I'm not kidding you. um, and so, yeah, my photos are my memories. I have bad memory problems, so they become my memories. They become the things that I hold on to and that I go back to, and I relive in the way that I don't, if I don't remember it properly. And I remember a lot more things that happen because I've got the memories and the photos to go back over. Yeah, what I realized is that when I changed the conversation, what happened is when I was bedbound initially and I started leaving messages on people's pages, I then started making these encouragement books, because quotes are things that have carried me through, and surrounding myself with positive affirmations. And so I started making these encouragement books for others and putting my left hand and making it put like the sticker down, and started sending those out. And all of a sudden, just being able to say, oh, I set up a thing called Spirit Spark Plugs that helps support others going through health issues. All of a sudden, the conversation is like, oh my gosh, whoa, tell me more. And I'm like, I leave messages on people's Facebook pages. But finding the thing that gave me purpose and meaning also gave me something to connect with people with outside of my health journey, and outside of the daily grind of that. And the other thing that we did is we had what we called Crips-free days. So because my friends would come over and everyone would want to talk about it. Everyone would want to repeat it. And I was repeating the same stuff over. And you don't want to have to live that. Like, no one wants to have to live those situations. But sometimes people want to be updated. And so I would write on a blog. And then I'm like, cool, if you want to read it or talk about it, you can go and read it on that blog. If I want to talk about it further, we will. But we actually had days when friends came over where we were like, no, we're not having health issue talks today. Like, it's not happening, not going there. I'm just me. I just want to be me, you know? Yeah. So there's a lot that's happened in between that. I spent 2 years in hospital more than out of hospital. And I'm really privileged today to be in the position I am, which is living at home with hospital level care, managing my health journey and having supports in place. That's not been an easy navigational journey either, but I wanted to give you a bit of context and then touch base quickly on Kylee Co, and then open it up for questions, if that's all right, for more specific questions. So Kylee Co is the development of what started all the way back then and has built and changed along the way. And then my incredible partner, with his support, my flatmates and our families have set up a thing called Kylee Co, which is about making things accessible for people and helping to show what we do have and what is possible. And like, what I realized is that I was ordering products from 7 different websites every month. And I'm like, how do you know what's out there if you don't know it exists? And I was finding products overseas and bringing them in for myself to try and find new ways to continue being able to do things that I could no longer navigate on my own. And then other people message me and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm struggling with this. Could you help me find a product that does this or that? And so I'd bring in some options, test them, try them. And then it kind of like word started spreading. And so we've now got 900 products on the website that's been built by wider community. So people like yourselves who have reached out and said, I'm really struggling to find a product that does this. Do you know anything, or have you but that's also bright and fun and happy and fashionable and funky, because a lot of the stuff out there, like, you guys know, like, we don't need stuff to look like disability products. It doesn't need to be transparent, ugly, or beige. Like, I wanted to do stuff that was fun and bright and happy and allowed us to continue using everyday tools, but hold on to them. So my wrists dislocate, and so I can't hold mugs. So for example, if I've got a mug, I use a glass straw, which are the best straws ever, by the way. But I often use a lid over my cups as well, so that When my hands are shaky, I don't spill things or I don't drop things. It doesn't go everywhere. But they're bright and fun covers that go over a cup, for example, or a handle that you can put on a wine glass and now have your nice wine glass. Things for wheelchairs, things for being in bed, things for navigating in the kitchen and the bathroom, but also things that are just fun. Like we have a whole range of encouragement pins. We have like these poop slingshots, which sounds funny, but like if you can't move much and you can't engage well, or like it's just, or like, you know, like it's hard and it's overwhelming and you get frustrated and angry. If you don't have the capacity to work that anger out in a external situation, because like my friends, for example, they'll go for a run or a bike or a swim, or they'll go for a drive, or they'll go for a walk, and I'm like, I can't do any of that. And so like these like slingshots, they're poops, but you sling them as hard as you want at the wall. It's not going to break anything, but it also gets out like tension and anger. But it is a fun thing that engages with people around you. So I always take them up to me hospital with me and often shoot them at my doctors. So it's just, I guess, bringing fun back to disability and accessibility and showing that accessible works for everyone and it just makes sense. But more than that, I think one of the things I had worked out and realized over time and seen time and time again was like, I tried for such a long time to get things in place to be able to go to markets or make my products, and like even sending out was difficult because I couldn't go to the post office myself. So it was family or other people doing it for me. And it was just difficult. And at one point we had a whole lot of people making products for us, sending them up, and then we put them out in care packages. And this lady contacted me one day and she's like, I have to tell you this. She said, it's changed my mother's world. She said, because she used to love crocheting and like knitting these toys. And she said, you know, she knit them and she loved them and she was selling them and doing markets, but then she couldn't do the markets. So then she was selling them to people that she was connected to, but then she couldn't sell them because she sold them to everyone. So then she started giving them away, but then she'd given them to everyone. So then they were starting to pile up in the corner. So she stopped doing them full stop. And that was the spiral down for her, because that had been her meaning and connection into community. And she said, so her being able to make them again and have the barriers removed to do so has given her the spark back that I haven't seen for a long time. And I was just like, that is so cool, because I had experienced the same thing. And so with Kylee Co, one of the parts that we're working on at the moment is actually getting our vendor section up and running so that we can platform everyone's products that they make and remove some of the barriers in place to do so that we can, so that you've got like one platform which everyone puts stuff up to and has all the accessible options up there as well. And we've got a whole lot of stuff for like chronic illness specifics and craft specific chronic illness stuff, but so that you can go on to one thing and find a whole lot of stuff in one place, and then also get behind and support other disabled people, because everyone involved in Kylee Co has a disability, complex health, or neurodiversity. And so it's a slow build and it's a slow start, but it's exciting. And we've sent out over we've sent a lot of packages. I'm trying to remember the numbers. But yeah, so it's about, I guess, create opportunity for others to connect in. And because a lot of what I saw is that my friends were all doing markets on their own, or making products on their own, and then selling them on their own and then still being on their own. And I'm like, no, we need to pull people together and do community and support community and get behind one another and champion one another. So one of the things I opened up last year on Facebook is the business owners and enterprise Facebook group to support each other in business who have side hobbies or want to set up business or enterprise or a connected space, to get behind and support one another. And champion one another in those spaces, and also be able to ask the difficult questions, because like navigating business or navigating your hobbies and stuff with complex or chronic illness isn't the same as when you've got your health or when you can rely on your health day to day. And I had found it really difficult to find the right supports that understood those nuances and niches. Like I still wake up a lot of days vomiting my guts out with massive migraines. I have a lot of supports in place because my health crashes quite critically and it's quite fast. It comes quite serious quite fast. It's a nice edge 24/7 of like that hospital line a lot of the time. And so yeah. One of the things that has helped me in my medical journey and navigating things with doctors is I got to the point where I said to them, I'll do whatever I have to do in here to continue living my best life out there. I have a life to live. I want to live it. How are you going to help me do that? Like I literally got to desperation point of going, I'm over this. I'm done. Tell me what I need to do. I will do it. But I want to be out there. I want to be living my life out there. And I need you to help me do that because I don't choose my circumstances right now. I don't choose the situation. I have no control over that. Like none. So stop, please. Like all I can choose is my reaction to the situation and how I navigate it. And I have lost so much life already that I'm damned if I'm going to lose more life to this condition because my life is not a dress rehearsal. This is my life. I have to work out how to live it. I have to find a way to live it. And I want to do that because this is my life and I don't get a second chance. So how are you going to help me partner in my life to help me achieve my goals and help me get back out and live it? And it was actually, it's been a game changer. It's been an absolute game changer to help them partner with me in care and help reframe some of those conversations so that I'm an equal player in my team. So it's a difficult journey, you know, and it's all ups and downs. But I guess like there's no cure for me. There's no fix. There's no get better outside of a miracle. So how do I navigate what I do? The website, I've written the entire website on my phone, reclined on my couch. I can't use the laptop at all because I can't sit up long enough or write it. I'm reclined now. And so yeah, so it's finding the things that I can do and ways that I can support myself or I guess distract myself. So my business stuff distracts me from my reality of my body and has become my outlet for keeping me occupied and creating paths and doors for others to open those channels to support them to think differently has been a game changer as well. I had one young girl come to me and she's given me permission to share the story. And she flopped down the couch and she said, I just got to understand that I can't work a job. I'll never be able to work a job. And I've just got to understand that and like navigate it or learn to live with it. And I said, it's not that you can't work any job. You're trying to work in hospitality and actually able-bodied people struggle to do that. It's not that you can't do anything. It's that you can't do those things. So it's finding what can you do and what do you enjoy? And even if it's not like a job per se or it's paid employment, I've stepped into some paid work very recently, but for a long time I haven't been in that and I don't get any pay for Kylee Co. And it's finding those things that spark and bring joy in life and those little moments and hanging on to those little things. And so I know if there's anything on the website, if you guys want to have a look that you think could help you or there's stuff that you've struggled with that you would like to be able to access, then that would be really cool. And I'd be really happy to have that conversation. And we manufacture our own product ranges as well and design them. Yeah.
Wow. I love how you said, Kylee, that you asked your doctors and your medical team to partner with you. That is I think that's actually a really powerful statement. So you guys, when you're having trouble with your GPs and getting the support you need, I think try that. Try asking them to partner with you in your care and see what response you got. It sounds like it was a game changer for you. Can you explain that a little bit more about what their response to you asking that? How did that change?
I think there's a few things that helped. Well, another thing I noticed that helped at the time is I would bring in my fun quilts and blankets and pillowcases. And what I also noticed is that when I had things that allowed them to see my personality or to see sparkles that they reacted differently as well. If I could find something also to connect with them with a personal level. So like if they have fun earrings or if they have a fun badge, like I'd be like, man, that's such a cool badge, or that's such a cool haircut. And finding a way to connect with medical professionals on an equal human to human basis also, I think has helped. And I guess I've used Kylee Co to also bridge that gap by taking badges up and taking bits and pieces up and going, like, look what we do, and look at what you help and empower me to do by you supporting me to live my life is now allowing me to do this. So thank you for allowing me to live my life, because I couldn't do this or do these things if I didn't have your support. So getting them to realize that what they do makes a difference and has an impact. I spoke at a doctor's conference recently, and I talked about the difference between cure versus heal. Because you guys, a lot of you guys, and I got it for many, many years, said to me, well, I can't cure you. There's no fix, so there's nothing I could do. You've just got to go away and learn to live with it. This is your lot in life. Deal with it. Like, end of discussion, case closed. Thing is, I was reclined in bed and unable to sit up or stand. My team didn't even know I could stand up until after I had to go home on IV fluids permanently, and cardiology put me on a minimum ratio plan. And for the first time in years, I was able to stand up. Like, my surgeon nearly fell through the floor. And I'm like, yeah, fluids. It's amazing what happens when your body's got enough blood in it, eh? Like, but getting them to realize that they were enabling me and my ability to live life by the treatment things that they put in place, and that they can't cure me, but they can help to heal me by supporting the ability for me to achieve my goals and live the things that I wanted to do. So like IV fluids, for example, that doesn't heal me. Like in itself, that thing doesn't heal me. My ostomy doesn't heal me. My feeding tube doesn't heal me, but they're the interventions that allow me to work to the quality of life that allows me to achieve my goals and purposes in life, and that heals me. But if those things aren't in place, if they're not behind me, then I can't do any of that. I'm very aware today, I live on a nice edge of being able to do things and not, and that I can do what I can do because of the support that I have behind me. I think that I live with a lot of guilt with that as well, if I'm honest with you, and it drives a lot of the advocacy work and the speaking that I do, because I want to use everything that I've been given to open and push doors open for others as well. And if I can use what I consider as my privileges to support others and push doors open for them, then I feel like I'm doing due diligence and due justice to it. Yeah.
All right, sorry, I'm chatting away and I'm not unmuted myself. That's awesome. That's great. So, Kylee, can you just tell everybody? I know when we had a conversation a month or so ago about today, you mentioned that a lot of our community, because they are housebound a lot, and to fill their time and to get through the day, they engage in a lot of arts and crafts. So can you talk about for those people who love doing arts and crafts to fill their day, what they can do with them, how they can come through via you to get them out into the world, you know? So can you just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we launched Kylee Co, and we've got about 4 launch parts to it that we're working towards. And so the first one was to get it up and going and launch full stop. The second point has been to increase our capacity of what we're able to offer on the platform. And then the next big change coming is our vendor section on the platform. So that's so that I can help, and I'm talking with a few of the few people that are CCIS members already as well, but being able to platform your guys' products so that we can sell them on our website to support you and push money back into your hands for those products. I'm really excited about it because I know what the barriers involved are. to just being able to do that sometimes. And I guess the tricky point here is it's a funding and capacity issue. So as soon as I can get enough things in place, that's top of my priority list, is that we've been working on behind the scenes, is being able to build that wider community network and start to champion your guys' products. Because if we've got 12 different people with 12 different Facebook pages selling 12 different communities, but none of those communities know any of those other communities, like, we're only ever going to get so far. And like, when I was doing it myself, like, having to navigate all those other things to do the thing you love is really exhausting, especially if you don't have supports in it to like send it all out or do all the photos or the videos or all the other things that come with it. So I was like, if I can help break barriers down for people so they can make the product they make and then know that it goes out and the rest of it's handled, that would be really cool. So that's what we were working towards at the moment. So get in touch with me. I'll add you to the list. And we're trialing some of that at the moment. And I'm really excited about it, because then too, right, is that someone comes to buy your product, but then they see all these other products available as well, and they might buy from the rest of us too. And by supporting you, they support the entire community. Yeah, so
awesome.
it's exciting.
That's great. I'm just having a look at the chats, and someone's asked, what your link, what your website is, and someone's found it and put it up there. So it's Kylee, Kylee and co.nz. So have a look at that, everybody. A couple of other comments here as well. Inspirational, Kylee. Thank you so much. Love having a purpose. And someone else has said, thanks for telling us your experience. It's fantastic that you are advocating for others in such an articulate way. So, someone else has just said here, amazing, Kylee. I relate to a lot of what you've said. You're inspiring, and I love how you have created some wonderful spaces for people to connect and motivate people even more to create their projects. So that's awesome. So that's exactly what today's about. Thank you.
I thought I would share just briefly too about a space that I had created before this also. It's called the Soul Lounge, and it's at an event called Festival One, and it makes festival fully accessible for all people with disabilities to be able to attend. We even bring hospital beds on site to a campground. And I turn up with my IV pole and my powered wheelchair. We do food, we do blended food, we do respite, we have a sensory room, we have a fully adult change table, bathroom tent facility. And that's also been another passion project for me, to support people to engage in spaces and show that if you make an event accessible, disabled people will come. Because I used to fight with a lot of places to make it accessible. They're like, disabled people don't come. And I'm like, because it's not accessible. If you make it accessible, disabled people come. They're like, well, if disabled people come, we'd make it accessible. And I'm like, it's never going to work. They're like, yeah, there's nothing we can do. But festival, when they first started, it used to be called Parachute Music Festival. So it's a new festival started in its place. They said the first year they started, they said, festival's a festival for all people. And I went up to Graham at the end of his talk, and I tapped him on the shoulder. I'm like, but all people can't attend. He's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, he's like, cool. So what are you going to do about it? And how do we help support you? I'm like, cool. So that's been fun. And it's been amazing to see people connect and be supported in a safe environment where your health conditions and needs are just met and accepted. Yeah. So I think those things drive me, and they give me the courage to soldier on. But I am also vehemently aware that it can be really hard listening to people engaged in spaces when our own capacities can sometimes be so limited. So I guess what I would say is, like, start small with what you can and what you've got. And like, for me, it was literally leaving messages on people's Facebook pages that might literally have been 5 messages a day. But by finding something I could identify with, or using my craft as the thing that I do, it opened my world up for people to connect with me.
Great. That's awesome. Someone else has just said, many thanks. I appreciate it. And awesome that you are doing what you're doing. You're an inspiration. I can relate to your story. Thank you. You're an awesome lady. So that's another comment that we've just received as well. So has anyone got any questions out there?
If anyone has questions or input or wants more information.
Yeah.
I thought I would say one thing though, in regards to accessing supports. Yes, that's me behind it.
Oh, yes. Have you just seen that message? I'm just reading that now too. Yeah.
And an amazing team that have rallied around me and caught the vision and run with it too. So one of the things I think we touched base on, Tracy, when we caught up was around how to access support funds and around personal care. A lot of people, there's a barrier to accessing supports is by not needing personal cares. One of the questions I asked you at that day is that, like, so one of the things, like, for me is like, when I didn't have supports, I could shower maybe once a week or once a fortnight, or sometimes longer if I wasn't well enough or I was in a really bad space. And it would take all of my energy and all of my everything to push it together to get showered. And then I would be sick again for days and days or longer. And just to think about, like, I guess, like, if you get help to support your personal cares, does it allow you to, one of the questions I was asked is if you had supports in place, or would you be able to shower more often? Or yes, like, why don't you shower more regularly? Well, I physically can't. So then do you need support to shower?
Yeah. Since we had that conversation, what Kylie's talking about is with NASC support funding, when you go for an assessment for personal cares and home help, the criteria around most of the country at the moment, and here in Hamilton at DSL, is that before you can get home help support, you must have a need for hands-on personal care. Well, just last week, I had a meeting with DSL to ask them exactly that question, Kylie. So my people, my community really struggle to shower daily. You know, some of them are lucky to have a shower twice a week or twice a fortnight, because it simply just wipes out their energy. And they have to choose between, oh, do I cook a meal today or do I have a shower? And or they're going to the doctor and they haven't had a shower for a week. They don't really want to go out without having a shower. And that's just going to cause a flare and a crash for another week or fortnight or up to a month or longer for some people. So could that meet criteria? And they basically said yes, and it all comes down to how you word the referral. So you can self-refer, we can refer on your behalf, and your doctor, I know, it was a thumbs up for me. It was like, whoa, okay, I feel like I've got a foot in here, or at least a big toe in there. So it all comes down to referral. So, and I usually ask GPs to make the referral, go to your GP to get the referral made to DSL, but GPs apparently are the worst at putting appropriate information in where triage won't decline it straight off. So, yeah. So
the other thing is, in the Waikato, we have a thing called Enabling Good Lives. And so that is more open and flexible as well. It's not available if you don't have a primary disability, unfortunately, at this point, but I'm still working on that, because it makes me really frustrated that we have chronic illness funding and disability funding, because I'm like, but the outcome of chronic illness is often disabling. If it's disability, does it get disability funding? Because it should.
Yeah.
Why would there's like criteria split out? So I'm always got my little advocacy hat on there, but it's not an easy navigational points to navigate.
No, it's not. And AMSMIS, our national body, they're working really hard at Ministry of Health level to have ME, chronic fatigue syndrome, recognised as a disability. And even though the definition, according to the definition, we are recognised as a disability, but then the DHB's criteria don't recognise us as a disability, and that's where the problem lies. So, but if we can get your foot in the door with personal cares, then you can have access to some home help. So that's the push there. So, but it was your idea about how to actually explain that to an assessor or to and a referral as to get a foot in the door. So I thank you very much for that, Kylie, because I've taken that to DSL and that was a very fruitful conversation. So yeah.
Thank you so much. It makes it worth it.
Yeah, yes.